Hello, everybody. Welcome to a very exciting episode of the Saturday morning D&D show. My name is Jordan. Thank you, Moa Peach, for being a member for 2 months. I just saw that in the chat. That's awesome. We have so much to talk about. Lucian's not ready. He's all over the place. He's not even streaming yet. So
I am now, but yeah, it's all a mess.
It's all a mess. It's so much news to cover. It's a very exciting day. Very exciting week, I guess. And we all knew that Spelljammer was coming because of the playtest, I think. But it's still really cool to see the new art and to just get excited for it. But yes, so Spelljammer is confirmed. It's very, very exciting. We have 3 new books coming, and a whole other slew of things was introduced in this D&D Direct, which I wonder if Wizards learned their lesson of let's not do live events anymore because they always have problems. They're always bad. People's cameras are awful. And instead, let's just do like a pre-recorded video and we can just premiere that. And it was a lot better and we got all the information we wanted and it was presented very well, I feel. So,
yeah, I think so that would be D&D Direct, because I don't remember them saying anything else about Direct meaning anything. So they didn't say that's the next name of the next version. They didn't say that's a name of a live show. So really it was kind of like, I guess, a Nintendo Direct would do at this point. I think theirs are a pre-recorded presentation.
I was looking it up, but I think Nintendo pioneered this format of how do we energize the fans for the year kind of a thing. And that's what this is. And so it's like, hey, we're just going to drop little hints here and there of what we're doing. But to be honest, we still don't know what the October kind of range book is, the Q4 book. But I'm assuming it's going to be Dragonlance because that's what they hinted at the very end. Since this summer is going to be Spelljammer. And with the acquisition of D&D Beyond from Fandom to now Hasbro, I think they're going to lean heavily into that and those subscriptions and things like that. So we saw a little bit of that with they said, hey, if you sign up for D&D Beyond or for Wizards, there's a Wizards account that I didn't even know, but apparently your D&D Beyond account is going to merge into that.
Yeah.
So they're trying to collect email addresses. They want users, they want emails, they want to be able to market to you. And how do you do that? You create free monsters. And so here are 10 free Spelljammer monsters, which were really good. I don't know if you got a chance to look at them.
I have not yet.
Yeah, they're really good and they're super fun. And already I was I want to use these. The flavor text on them are really great. One of them in particular is an Eldritch Lich, which is a lower CR than a regular Lich. But you're a Lich that had a parasite grow in you, and that parasite is actually your phylactery, and it's got a tie to the old gods and stuff, Cthulhu kind of beings. And I was I could build a whole campaign around this. This is amazing. So,
this is a great bad guy.
This compendium is free, and I was doing a little bit of research, and I guess back in the day, they used to do monster compendiums where you would get basically a spiral bound notebook, and then they're here's 10 monsters and you would slowly add to this. And so I think that the idea is this is going to be similar. We're going to have monster compendium 1, 2, 3, and then maybe by the end you could print all of these and have a full free monster book. So it'd be kind of fun. Or maybe they won't all be free. Who knows? So
yeah, I don't remember having a binder of monsters. I must have missed that.
I think that was, somebody, well, I did casual research, I should say.
Yeah.
AJ Pickett's in chat. He says the Clockwork Horror, that was really good. And the Clockwork Horror is kind of like a nanotech robot that has chainsaws for hands. And it says that its sole purpose is to find other resources and build more of itself. And so that's another campaign where you're you have these replicating robots going everywhere. Thank you, Chivi Disciple, for the $5 donation. Very nice of you. Tui. It was really cool. So, I don't know. Are you excited? Was it everything you wanted? What's going on?
Well, definitely excited because it's no longer a joke or a meme, right? Because there still could have been that outstanding chance that they were just going to keep the long running meme and never do Spelljammers, but they finally did it. So We're no longer in joke territory. We're actually going to get it. I found it was super interesting. They did it in a 3-book slipcase set, which is kind of cool. But that does kind of go into what Ray was saying. We're exploring more ways to do content, not just a book, but other ways. So box sets, we were one of the things we had guessed about, but even some other things there we're starting to see too. So maybe the way that they're, releasing 10 monsters, that's another way, that's another style of content they can release that isn't just the book that they put out, right? And now that they own D&D Beyond, that's another thing they can put stuff out, and that's content that's not a book that they can put out in that. It doesn't have to necessarily be just from the published books now. They could do series of stuff that just maybe gets released on D&D Beyond to really entice people to use D&D Beyond, not just as I need to buy it as a second electronic format of the book I already bought, but all other kinds of cool stuff too. So I thought that was cool. The artwork looked good.
I mean, they're always knocking it out of the park with art. Like, I think if anything, Wizards has that down to a science with Magic the Gathering. And
they mentioned the races we wanted. Like, there was, I saw, what was it, the Thrykeen, the Plasmoid was in there, the Gith, yeah. GIF?
I say GIF,
Goth?
But some people say GIF.
Right. GIF.
Or
I like how they made
my
that
name is
joke,
Jeff.
which was good.
So,
was there a gnome? Autognome?
Autognome is a mechanical constructed gnome.
There you go.
And then the Hadoozy are flying monkey people.
Yeah, flying monkey people. It might have been 6 though. I think I might be missing one, but Chad don't know. I thought those were all cool. Those all sound super. I've been wanting to play a Plasmoid.
Yeah,
basically a slime style character for so long. We talked about it, I don't know, in so many different shows, and we thought we should just put one out on DMsGuild or something, because it was such a cool idea that I
when I was making when I was actively writing Module D6, the RPG I was trying to do, you had a really good question where you're just like, okay, well, I'm gonna right off the get-go, before I even read your rules, I'm gonna tell you what I want to play, and you tell me if I can make it in your game. And I was like, okay. And you said, I want to be a shape-changing like goo, and I'm like, you can't. But now I have to come up with that. So that's kind of it's pretty interesting.
I want to, because I wanted it to be like this amoeba, but fit in clothes.
Yeah,
makes
and
hands
that's exactly
and
what
does
we got.
Stuff. Yeah, that's so good.
You could like shape change, but you still look like a Ooze. You're not like an Odo from Star Trek or something.
Yeah. And maybe you can hold it just long enough to do like a facial expression, or you could mimic somebody for a second, but then you go back to your
that's all flavor too. So
that'd be cool.
Totally come up
so
with that.
That alone had me excited. So I'm excited for this. This is a definite buy for me. I think I didn't see a price there, but I know on chat that was one of the first things people were talking about when the show got over was people are trying to find prices. I don't know.
$70 on Amazon.
That's not bad for
which
3
makes
books,
me think it's going to be like 90, but in stores. But I don't know. I wonder if it's on their website actually.
And I know maybe one of the comments you made, and I don't know if your research brought this up yet, or if somebody in chat will be able to answer. Did they ever indicate, or have they indicated after the show, maybe through Twitter or something, that you'll be able to get the books individually, or it's only going to be sold as the set?
So
you're only going to do it as the 3.
I don't know. And that's actually what I wanted to bring it up, because so it's going to be 3 books. It's a box set with a Dungeon Master screen. So this really does feel like a, hey, do you want to play in this world? Here's the way to do it. Here's the Dungeon Master screen. Here's the monsters. Here's everything else. As opposed to previous editions, like when Eberron came out, there was an Eberron Dungeon Master screen, but you had to buy it separate. And so I like that this is kind of like, if I want to do this, I'm all in a way. But customers like the ability to pick and choose. And you're right. If I'm a player and I just want to pick up like the new player options, can I buy just one of the books? So the 3 books in this slipcover case are each 64 pages long. I think the Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide is like 89 pages long. So that was a bit much for like, and so we have 3 of these, but in perspective, the 5th edition Dungeon Master's Guide is 320 pages. Right. Like, this easily could have been one book. Like, they very purposely split it up. And so by splitting it up, it makes me think that they will sell it individually as at some point. Maybe the beginning is just you can only get it as a box set, and then 6 months down the line we'll sell it individually. I'm not really sure, but
yeah,
I thought that was curious because I'm like, this could have been one book, guys. Like, you didn't have to do this. Like, you did. Like, Eberron had, well, Eberron's adventure is really short, but like Eberron had monster adventure settings and new class options, and Theros had monster settings, new class options. So like, why is this one? Why go in this direction? But I was talking with Lex, actually, of all people, and we were commenting on the Old School Essentials Kickstarter that finished recently, and they split up all of their books. So here's just the druid spells, and here's just the fighter options, and here's monsters, and here's equipment, and here's this. And it's purposely done for that so that you can take those books and be like, oh, like, I have the book right now because I'm looking up, like, rules. I don't know, Drow. But, oh, you need the spells? It's actually this book, and you can hand it to people. And so it's more user-friendly at a table. Part of me thought maybe that was it. I don't know.
I could see that. Be able to show the monsters, or, like, people could just see the artwork while you still have the adventures still behind the screen part.
I think they're underestimating how much desk space I have when I play the game.
That could be.
Because I like the idea of having 2 or 3 books open so I can reference everything, but I do not have that much space on my table, so it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm very excited. Like, I think this is really cool. There are some major changes they're making to Spelljammer to make it fit in with 5e and their cosmology. For those of you who know, 2e Spelljammer, everything was crystal spheres, which are these giant bubbles floating in this weird flammable substance called the phlogiston. And I guess Chris Perkins said that they got rid of the phlogiston. They're like, we just got rid of it. Like, there's no reason to have it. It doesn't fit in our current astral plane kind of cosmology that they've created for 5e. So they're not doing that, and instead you're going to sail through the astral plane. And that seems fine to me, and it also opens up some astral plane kind of places to go, like the dead god that they hinted at. That is an astral plane thing where the Githyanki live on this ancient dead god and have created like a whole society there, and I thought that was kind of cool. So I'm excited for that because it just means we get more interesting stuff. And maybe space travel is less about distance and planets and things like that, but more about the journey, which is, I'm all for that. It's not necessarily like, oh, well, to get there, it's going to be, da-da-da-da-da. And so I think this will be, I'm excited at what they're doing with it. And if you don't like the rules, then go ahead and use the old 2E rules. Nobody's stopping you for that. So
right.
Like, it's completely fine. I don't know. I feel like 64 pages is really short, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But that Light of Xerius, which is the adventure, this is interesting. It's an adventure of 12 episodes. So it sounds like it's going to be 12 or 13-ish sessions, because an episode, from what Chris Perkins was saying, was going to be like 2 to 4 hours of gameplay.
Right. And it's going to have a cliffhanger.
Yeah, and so it feels like it's going to be one of those like serialized TV shows. Like, at the end of every Doctor Who, like, is he going to survive? And then we find out in the next episode that he's fine. But the level range is 5 to 18. So I haven't seen, aside from Dungeon of the Mad Mage, which I kind of don't count because it's not really, I don't know, maybe, I guess I should count it. That one goes to 20. But we haven't seen an adventure go above 15 in a long time.
Right.
I want to say. The average
and
is like 12.
And starting at 5 is good, too, because a lot of people like to start their campaigns right about that spot.
Yeah.
Some people have been, I've seen and have been a part of many campaigns that skip over 1 through 3 to get
if you're not
their characters. And
if you're not a new player, like veteran players, I always want to start at level 5 because I like that's where things click and it's more fun for me.
Right.
So I like level 5. But along with that, they're going to release a intro adventure for free. This is again another way of getting you to sign up for D&D Beyond, which I think like everybody I know already is. So it's like whatever. But I like free stuff. And so a free adventure that intros people to the world of Spelljammer and probably does the 1 to 5 really easy so that you can then buy the box set and keep playing is the idea.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and it's Spelljammer, so it's not like it's a campaign about traveling distances. So I could see why that might be less than, hey, we're building a whole new world and we have to tell you about the whole new world you're going to visit. Because they're not really doing that. This is more a book about traveling to different worlds, right? And all the rules in there and the things that they're going to have contained in it is more about getting between them. They didn't say like, hey, we're going to mention in that book 5 new worlds that you can play on or anything like that. They didn't give us any indication.
Yeah, no. But this will set up the multiverse idea. So I think so, now, using the Spelljammer rules and the astral, I was about to say astral sea, but that was a 4E3. The astral plane being the medium. Mm-hmm. I think you'll be able to visit Eberron, and you'll be able to visit the Forgotten Realms and Dragonlance, which is coming up. So Kryn will be available and stuff like that. I don't know how detailed they're going to make everything. Like, you talk about, like, okay, this is 64 pages for the entire Spelljam campaign setting. Well, I just finished a video on the Dragonlance solar system, and that supplements like 100 pages from 2E. So I'm kind of like how much information could you have on each planet in Kryn space or realm space? Or, you know, Eberron has no planets, it's just Eberron. But I don't know, I'm curious how they're going to handle suns. They did say in the book that you're going to get a double-sided poster map of Rock of Brawl, which is Rock of Brawl was a giant asteroid that has a city on it, and it was kind of like a hub to go to that was unique to the world of Spelljammer. So it sounds like Rock of Brawl will be kind of like a potential home base, and I bet you'll get a lot of information about that city, but I don't think you're going to get a lot of information on the Forgotten Realms. You're not going to get a lot of information on Eberron. You're kind of expected to go buy that book, and then you can fly to Eberron, and, you know, or you can fly to wherever you want. Yeah.
And I wonder if that's why it is smaller than the others, because the only way to make it bigger is to start adding in campaign information or world information, but if they're going to do that in a campaign book that they release, or they expect you to go to,
like I wonder, Dragonlance is going to be its own book.
That in. Yeah, there's no reason to put that in the Spelljammer. So maybe the whole point was to keep that small, knowing that when you as a DM are going to pick the worlds you're going to run your campaign on, you would be using the books from those campaign worlds for the meat of the campaign world or the planet or the, you know, the stuff that's going on there. I think it's interesting. I love it. I'm glad we're getting it. I'm sure we must have like ship rules and ship combat rules, and
it sounds
maybe
like
there's some better ones or different ones or newer ones. Maybe they'll talk about, are there logistics to running ships, you know, or is there stuff
I would love to see, like, okay, if you're in charge of the spelljamming helm, like you're in charge of propulsion, but then I want to say like you're the Geordie of engineering. But then we need a captain to actually like steer and give orders or something like that. Right. You need weapons. Like I want to be able to assign a bridge crew to my players. That's what I want to do, you know?
Yep.
So
be very interesting. This would fit so good into Coville's when he did his the Chain campaign. He started it out with them escaping a city. They got on a ship that was basically a spelljamming ship. They bumped into a mind flayer spelljamming ship, and they had to board it and fight. And I was like, that's so cool. That's the kind of D&D I remember and love. You know, like that's the cool thing. And then just the idea of having the different types of ships that you could run into. You could run into an orc ship. You could run into a mind flayer ship. You could run into a Gith ship. You could run into, you know, a
elves and gnomes and everything.
That was the sixth one, space elves, right? There was
space elves were the astral elves.
Astral elves, that's what it was.
Yeah, I wonder how they'll be different. Cool. But yeah, the elven armada is huge in Spelljammer. Like they have they're very militaristic, which is not like necessarily I'm going to conquer every world, but like they have they're called the Armada for a reason. Like they have all of the power.
And just hazards.
Yeah. Yeah, like there was like a mimic asteroid that like it
asteroid
looks
stuff.
like an asteroid, but it's actually like a giant
That's
creature that
funny.
comes to life and eats you. And I was like, that's fun.
Yeah. Very cool.
The monsters look really cool. I'm super excited. And I was talking to Harlan from. He runs the Spelljammer campaign setting Spelljamming live play called Better Than Heroes. And I was a guest on it. I played a Githyanki Warlock. It was fun. But he was like, what? And so I was just like, man, people, you need to start listening to Better Than Heroes right now so you can get your Spelljammer fix in before August hits. And he was thankful for the publicity, but it's a really good podcast. He has some funny comedians that he is doing the Better Than Heroes podcast with, which is arguably, I love my friends, but it's arguably better than just like, I'm going to get my best friends together and record a podcast. Like, these are like people who are kind of trained to be funny, and they're also friends, and they do a good job. It's one of the reasons I think Critical Role does such a good job. Yeah, because they're also trained entertainers.
They're entertainers.
So I don't know. I don't know much about the Light of Xarius. I mean, we don't know anything really, but 3 books, 64 pages, $70. I'm game.
Yep.
Have you seen the Hydro 64 alternate art?
No, I'll have to look that up. For sure.
Very cool. The one of them is a gif's face, so the hippo face. And the monster one is the giant space hamster, which we saw a preview of a long time ago. It was like a rough sketch of the Hydro 64. And I forget the last one. I don't remember. But they're all the same covers. Kind of, like the Icewind Dale book. Like all the Hydro covers kind of look the same. Or they have that same style, which is a really cool style. So.
That's very cool. So we got that announcement. They announced like more figs and stuff from WizKids, so that made sense that they were gonna, put out figures and figurines and things that you can buy pre-painted. The ones that we've been seeing that they've been putting out, what do they call them? Legends of
the Hidden Temple.
I think that, or the icons of something. There's like a name for the mini line, and then they put out the icons of
Spelljammer icons or something like that. It's the Spelljammer line for WizKids. Yeah.
So and they had monstrous big ones. They were
the Astral Dreadnought looked so
there
cool.
You go.
They had a lot of ships too.
Yeah.
But I was talking with like DM
in different
Nathan.
Scale.
Well, that was the thing, is I was talking to DM Nathan, and he was like, I want like a big ship, and I was like, I wonder, and he was like, yeah, I think they're going to be like small so that you can have your like tactical grid stuff. And I was like, I bet. And WizKids made, back when WizKids was still sending me minis, I think they stopped because I didn't really know how to review them, and I don't have a YouTube channel that reviews minis, so they were like, well, we're not going to send you anymore. But they sent me a bunch of Pathfinder minis that were little ships like that. Or sorry, Starfinder minis that were those little ships that you can then use those ships on your hex grid and actually like have a combat. That could be cool. I don't know. We'll see. But like I like the idea of having my big ship, run up against another, and we can actually have people jumping between ship to ship to try to take over a big.
I bet somebody somewhere makes some of the big ones where you can actually move your minis around.
Yeah.
Them.
Well, there's some wooden ones. Like I have a wooden water ship, and WizKids actually made that big galleon ship that you could use. But like, I mean, we all want like a big nautiloid kind of tentacle ship.
Yeah.
Like that would be cool. But the Astral Dreadnought, I think that's their big fancy one for the set, and it's got to be like $200. I bet it looks so big.
All of those things seem pretty expensive.
But a lot of them look really neat. Gosh, I want that set so bad. I'm not a mini person until I start seeing all of the specific ones. Like when the Eberron ones came out, I was like, oh, I want those. Or so cool. But expensive hobby.
Put them out on your table.
Expensive hobby.
Yeah. And then go ahead. Yep. Well, it was like they were adding lots of different products or lots of things. Something I didn't realize they were going to announce. The movie. I had no idea they were going to even talk anything about the movie, and not that they really gave us a ton of stuff, but even to bring it up and really confirm. I mean, we've kind of heard it through articles and tweets and websites, but they've never put it out on their page. I thought that there's a movie, right?
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think Wizards has directly
interviews
talked
and
about
stuff
it.
We knew about it, but this was actually a presentation of
mostly from my like Hollywood news feeds. I was hearing about the D&D movie, not from Wizards directly, but they did wrap filming. Chris Pine's in it. Michelle Rodriguez is in it. They've finished filming. And so it's in post-production, which can take a while if you're doing a lot of green screen. I really love those directors and writers. John Francis Daley specifically. He knows about the hobby and makes really good movies in general. So I'm confident that it's going to be cool, especially with him. And then they did a teaser trailer, which really was just to show the title of the movie, which is Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. An interview I read later from John Francis Daley, he did say it's set on the Sword Coast, so it's in the Forgotten Realms.
Oh, yes.
And its release date is like May 2023. So they want it to be a summer blockbuster.
And that's next year.
And that's next year.
That's way quicker than I thought. Yeah. Crazy. Maybe we'll start to see trailers and stuff if they've finished filming. That's when they start to probably cut that stuff to start sending that kind of thing out. So that's interesting. I'm interested to see. Now, it's obvious that I wouldn't have super high hopes. That's what I would tell everybody, because we know Dungeons and Dragons movies have let us down in the past, not being very quality. So don't put your bar so high for this one that when you do go see it, it just can't even make your bar. Maybe set your bar really low so that if it is good or even really good, it's just going to surpass that. That's
well, and those movies were bad because the company that owned the license for D&D movies was not a good movie company. Like, it's not like they were Paramount where they made really good movies and really bad movies. Like, that company only made bad movies. And so that's why I have high hopes, because John Francis Daley is he's a nerd and he's like really cool, and and he's also a very talented writer and director, and I think him and his work partner, I forget the other director writer name, but the two of them together, like, I don't know. It's like the Russo brothers really love Marvel. You know, they were given a shot with Winter Soldier and they made the best Marvel movie. In my, like, that's my favorite Winter Soldier. Like, I love it so much.
Winter's my favorite. Yeah.
That they know the formula of, we just need to make a movie involving these characters and not try to reinvent a genre. Like, I have to make a superhero movie. Well, superhero isn't really the genre you think it is. Instead, you're going to make a really cool spy movie using Captain America, you know? And it's like, oh, okay. Like, that sounds kind of fun. Yeah. I'm going to make a heist movie, a comedy heist movie using Ant-Man. Like, they're kind of figuring out what they're doing with that. So I have high hopes, but again, if you don't want to get your hopes up, don't be like me. That's fine.
Yeah, I'm just saying, don't set your expectations so high that you get disappointed. Like, keep it low. And if it's good, you're just gonna be like, yes, it was good. Cool. I'm not mad. It's not Oscar worthy.
They teased Dragonlance with a setting book and a board game. I don't know anything about the board game. The setting was literally just the word Dragonlance, so we'll see where that comes from. Yeah, I think they said actually later on that it's going to take place during a certain war. That if you've read the novels, you understand what that means, but I have only read one Dragonlance novel, so I was unfamiliar with if that's cool or not. But
yeah, and board game may not even be the right definition for it. They showed a box with a artwork on it, but it also could contain, because I know I saw somewhere else on Twitter where they talked about it might have rules for armies to fight or large units of things to fight each other. So maybe that's like a box set of battle rules or something, like, you know, Kingdoms and Warfare kind of stuff that you would have got from Coville. So maybe they're building some type of army fight system that you can also then plug in your D&D characters.
Well, and I was wondering if you could plug in your miniatures.
Yeah.
You know, because if they're like, hey, if you buy this mini, we have corresponding stats to this mini. And then all of a sudden we're playing Warhammer, but
yeah, but it's their
Warhammer's
version,
popular,
why not?
And so why not? Like,
so that's interesting. That was the surprise for me. I always thought they weren't going to touch Dragonlance, but I was wrong. They continue to do it. They're making products on it, even if they had, you know, a I don't know, an argument, a fight, a disagreement with the original authors before it gets worked out. You know, that because if the authors don't say or put up a fight, I guess, at that point, or complain, that book series just goes away. They just basically cancel it, right? I mean, they're just like, we don't really want you to write any more books. So I just find it's interesting that it's all changed, that they are going to put out books for it, and they are going to.
Well, I think that's to also hype up the setting and the board game and everything else. Like, they have that. So, but you're right. Like, Wizards of the Coast owns all of Dragonlance. Like, but that's the same thing with, Dritz, and they want R.A. Salvatore to write more Forgotten Realms, Dritz
right, but
books.
they told those authors, we're not going to approve your scripts anymore. That's a clear sign of saying we don't want you to write.
Yeah, we've talked about this before, and you don't understand what actually happened. Like, you keep thinking that they were like, hey, we've got a book, and then Wizards forbid them to publish that book.
No, that's not what I thought.
Oh, okay. Well,
no, the complaint was they were sending in the revisions and the writings, and Wizards was saying, we're not going to do any of the revisions or writing. We're not releasing the book.
Correct.
So we're not going to.
They hired those people to write another Dragonlance novel, or 3 of them.
3.
And then they sent in the first drafts, and Wizards was using a loophole to say, you're not doing X, Y, and Z, so we're canceling the project. And it was kind of a way, from my understanding, of like getting out of paying them, but still having the rough draft. And the way I interpreted it is that they were going to, because they said, like, the complaint is that the Hickmans did not live up to their end of the contract because they didn't do the revisions or something like that, from my understanding. And so then the Hickmans like sued and were like, hey, Hasbro, like, you can't do that because we did live up to it. You didn't give us enough time to do X, Y, and Z. And then they settled out of court, and we don't know what happened, but the books are coming out. So.
I don't think that's exactly right, but
okay.
I'm going to look that up again.
We can look it up
because that implies, had their plan gone to fruition, that somebody at Wizards, and Wizards the board and Wizards the people, said, we're going to use a loophole that we found, and we're not going to pay a couple of authors, but yet we're going to get their settings and we're going to release their books. And that was their plan, thinking the Hickmans will never complain. That's the plan?
That's the lawyer loophole that lawyers come up with. That's
and
not
so
like Wizards people.
Work.
That's a lawyer. That's a lawyer doing lawyer crap that nobody likes lawyers. There's a reason. So
I just find that weird that they would. I don't know. I think I want to look that up again.
Okay, yeah, look it up. I mean, I will fully admit if I'm wrong, because it was unclear because everything was closed deals behind a back door.
Yeah,
we don't actually.
That's true. And if they settle out, I think they can keep it private. They don't necessarily.
Oh, and that's what happened. They just said we settled. They never went to court. So it was like, okay. And then, I think Ted did an interview with the Hickmans. So you can go to his channel and look, but I don't know if they actually were allowed to talk about that or if they were just like, we want to talk about the world and stuff like that. So a couple of other little license things that came out were campaign cases that contain terrain and monster tokens. Mm-hmm. And I thought, this is kind of cool. The idea is like, it's got a handle and stuff, but the idea is that I can take this on the go. And instead of lugging around a ton of miniatures, I have like stickers that I can, reusable stickers that I can put on little tokens. And then these tokens can be our monsters at the table. Not a bad idea. I don't know how the stickers how reusable they are. I'm curious about the quality of this, but it is the D&D 5e art on there. So you look at it and you're like, that's a kobold. I know that's a goblin. I know that's a screaming flame skull. Like, I know that. And then they came out with some terrain, which is not a large foldable map, but rather individual tiles. And again, it has that same texture quality or whatever, where you can slap these stickers on them, reusable stickers, to make like a fire pit or a cavern or something like that. These were getting a lot of flack in my circles because people were like, well, I don't like that. I want to draw. I want to do this. And I think you can probably dry erase draw on these. I could be wrong.
Wow, I would think it'd be in my mind, I'm thinking this is a perfect kind of, I'm going to conventions or I'm going to an event. And I don't want to bring 5 cases. Like, you can't bring all your cases of, miniatures on the airplane because we want to play a campaign in the hotel.
Yeah.
Right. But you could bring something like this that would be a nice portable, easy to use, could play games. Maybe you don't use it for all of your gaming stuff, but you would be great for convention play or like an event play kind of thing.
So
I thought that was great.
I
And
also
the
like the
price.
idea that it's modular little tiles. So I can build the dungeon as I go, as opposed to, do you want to explore over there? I'll then put another tile down. So you're not trying to hide the whole thing. Like I draw the whole map, and then I feel like I'm covering it up with books and stuff so that the players don't know, but they know because they could see like something's under there. So this could be a cool idea of doing that. But lately we've been doing 3D terrain with Dwarven Forge and WizKids. So not the product for me necessarily, but I could see it being, I think it's a fine product. Like, and it reminds me, I used a little bit of those RPG, those D&D 4E games that came out. There was like The Legend of Dritz and Castle Ravenloft, and those came with minis, but they also came with tiles. And the idea of that game is that you would shuffle the tiles, and then when I would go to a new tile in the game, you would pick a random one and build a random map. And so in this way, you could kind of do the same thing. Like you could draw on them and put stickers on them or something. And yeah.
Yeah. Well, I also like the idea. To me, it's kind of a. I don't know if this is how they thought of it, but like I like the idea that you have expensive way to play, medium spending money way to play, spend less money to play. Kind of like you have different options. You're not just stuck with, oh, I want to play at the table with miniatures, so I have to go buy 3D terrain like you're talking about, like Forgecraft stuff. That stuff's super expensive. But if I have a map that has photorealistic stuff on it, that's another way. Or I could just put out, going cheaper is, here's your spreadsheet or your graph paper, and you just draw on it, right? So you have every option available to you based on what you think your budget is for the game that you want to play. So I think that's kind of cool options.
These monster tokens, great for any fantasy RPG, honestly. And I would love to use these for Adventure League or when I run games at the store for Dungeon Crawl Classics. Go ahead and take a drink. These are also like a great option. So
I think that's cool.
Yeah. We'll see. I'm sure lots of people will get them. There'll be reviews of like, oh, it's worth it. It's not worth it. So,
Sure.
And then there was a new starter box set.
Well, it's the one we've talked about. Yeah. It's the one we've seen the picture of, but it was an official. Like, that was the first time I saw it officially. And they did mention, like, it's different than the other one.
It's more streamlined, I think. They're learning, like, this is a better intro to D&D, so we'll see.
Oh, I know another big announcement. We didn't write it in our notes, but I know it's a big push they were making about making books in different languages and releasing them in different countries. So
which I was surprised.
Like 4 or 5.
They were like, hey, we're finally releasing this, like, 6-year-old book in French. And I'm like, you haven't done that yet? Like, that feels weird. Like, French is a very popular language in Canada and France, obviously. So, like, I would think that you would have, but okay, maybe not. So, I don't know how difficult it is to translate a book, especially rules, because you have to make sure that the rules translate the idea across. That's got to be difficult. Wording's probably very difficult for that.
Yeah. Imagine Mordekainen's Tome of Foes, and then when you read that in German, you read that in French. It was interesting to see how that was.
Yeah.
I like that. So
I want to get Japanese versions of all the 5e books. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Just to have.
I just want them. I just think they're cool.
Like those characters, that style of
the kanji on it, and you got a big dragon, and it's like Dungeons and Dragons. You're like, yes.
I don't think that's
so exciting.
I love it. So I think that's all that they announced. I feel like right after that was done, I thought Ray in tweeting said there's still one more announced coming, but I didn't know if he had posted that tweet in the middle of the show was going on and he was referencing Dragonlance at the end, because they really put that piece right at the very end, or if he had posted that tweet. I didn't see the timing on it. I only read it about an hour later when I was looking at stuff, and he said there's still one more announcement coming. So I don't know if that was during the show he said that, or if there is actually another announcement coming.
He did say that Spelljammer was one of the 3 classic settings that he was talking about.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming Dragonlance is the other of 2 of the 3. So what is the third? I'm not sure. But.
So here's my question to Jordan. We talked about everything we did see. What surprised you that we didn't see? Like they didn't announce or they didn't give us, or they...
Oh, I guess like a virtual tabletop with D&D Beyond. For some reason, I was thinking that was like, hey, we acquired this, and guess what? You're now going to be able to...
Here's something.
Like, you're going to be able to have your minis on D&D Beyond because we're going to have a VTT integrated with it specifically. And I still believe that's coming. Like, that's the very logical choice for D&D Beyond is to not have you leave their site to go to Roll20 or to go to whatever, why not just keep it all there? But maybe it's just not ready yet, or maybe they're saving that for later, or I don't know. Maybe, like lots of things could be happening.
Or next, maybe they're buying Roll20 and they'll roll that into D&D Beyond, and then you've got the full gambit.
we were talking about that, like Lex and I and some other people, but like, I don't think Roll20 wants to sell. And,
it might not. But...
And Wizards doesn't want to own, or they don't want to support a VTT for non-D&D role-playing games. Now,
that I think is true.
Let's talk about this. I was curious because I'm like, well, Wizards of the Coast bought, or Hasbro bought D&D Beyond. Mm-hmm. Did they get Cortex and Dragon Prince?
There you go, guys. We were talking about this.
And I was like, no, wait, because that was kind of wrapped into the whole thing, I thought.
That's what D&D Beyond was going to do.
I literally got an advertisement that was like, check out Cortex by Dragon Prince, built by Fandom, blah, blah, blah. So that was left out. They only got...
Oh, Fandom didn't
They
give
got
it up.
D&D Beyond. I think the majority of those coders and programmers they got as well. But they also... part of the contract was like, oh, well, yeah. And I can only think of Wizards of the Coast saying, I don't want Cortex. Like, I have my own game designers. Like, I don't want to buy your system. Like, if we're going to build a Dragon Prince game, I'm going to use my in-house game architects. I'm not going to go to you, or I'm not going to buy that. So I'm curious, really.
I would love to know.
But yeah, so apparently Fandom still owns Cortex, and they still own the Dragon Prince, or they have that Dragon Prince IP, and we'll see where that goes. So, yeah.
Very interesting. So that was the only thing that you thought you would see a VTT supplement or advertisement or tie-in.
Yeah, well, I just thought that there would be a virtual tabletop. I remember Roll20 said that they had like an announcement too, but I didn't hear it. But I assume it's just we're getting Spelljammer books for Roll20 now.
I'm totally surprised we've not seen a Magic the Gathering tie-in book. I thought we would see one or it would be announced by now because we feel like we've been getting one a year.
Yeah, and we have. But Strixhaven, when did that come out? November? It makes more sense that they're going to hype up Spelljammer for the summer, and then maybe there will be a Magic the Gathering tie-in.
It still
in
could
December
come.
again.
But that's kind of what I didn't. In the place of where I thought Dragonlance was, I thought that's where they were going to do the announcement of like the Magic the Gathering tie-in. I'm surprised it was a box set. I kind of thought we would get another. I guess we did in the box set because there's monsters there, but I kept thinking we were due for a monster book, so I kept thinking they were going to maybe announce another type of Mordenkainen's.
Yeah, if you have to, remember the multiverse, Mordenkainen's Multiverse Monsters or whatever that book is called. It's not out yet. It's going to be out next month, I think, but that's coming out. Or it's already released with the box set, and that's old monsters becoming new monsters and things like that. But also with this monster compendium and releasing digital monsters online, I don't think they need to. And there's so many other companies making monster books now too. Colville's monster book is at over $1 million, and so
it makes sense now that you say all that. But we didn't know about the compendium. We didn't know about all of those things when they were getting ready for.
Oh yeah.
This show.
If you're surprised that you didn't see that, but I guess I'm trying to say
that's
like
why I'm saying now. It makes
hindsight,
sense.
I understand why. For sure.
Yeah. So that was the only other thing I could think of because I didn't think we were due or getting ready or they were going to announce like a whole nother book of subclasses. But I felt like maybe a monster book or a setting book that was tie-in. I really thought Spelljammer was getting announced, so that I'm glad I was right that. But that was probably the only thing I did. And they did announce a live show that's playing on the YouTube and the Twitch.
Yeah, D&D's Twitch. So
with some celebrities that you've seen that are quite normally tied to Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, this was interesting because I think they they leaned heavily towards let's get streamer celebrities, not movie celebrities. So it's like, you know, Patton Oswalt. I love Patton Oswalt, but it's like, let's put him in a game. And he fits very well, but he's also he's Patton Oswalt. He's not the same mentality, or like Jack Black. You know, they were getting these celebrities that are Kevin Smith, who are willing to play D&D, but I feel like those never really worked out how they wanted. So now they're like, you know, Deborah Ann Wool, let's get her. It's Brendan or Brandon. He's the College Humor guy that apparently his podcast is blowing up. So they have him. Abria, I think, is on there, right?
Abria was there, yeah.
So they're getting the people that are popular.
Ginny?
Huh?
Ginny?
Oh, Ginny D. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I remember I saw her picture. That's really cool. And after her big, her being Jester with Jester on Critical Role, I was like, okay, yeah, you're in the super limelight now. You're probably going to get offered a lot of stuff. So that's really cool. It'll be fun.
So that was the other show. So they announced that. And then that was it. I felt like it was shorter than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. I mean, those streaming events were always like 3 hours, if not more. And this was just like a 45-minute kind of concise trailer. But I liked it more because I got the information I wanted without having to listen about cookbooks. Right. So,
but
I'm like, I don't care about cookbooks.
To get like a whole weekend of stuff. Like they set up an event.
Yeah.
Where they're going to announce stuff, but they're also doing live games all day, and then shows, and then events, and then a concert, and like it was like a 3-day event for them, and this was down to, was it an hour? Was it? I don't even think it was an hour.
No, I think it was like 40, 50 minutes, but it was straight up
just done.
It was a
no
direct.
mention of a
this
live
is the Nintendo
show.
way of things now. Or
mention of we're going to be at Gen Con, come see us. No mention of we have our own convention. You guys should all buy tickets and come in. None of that kind of stuff. No. So I wonder if they're not.
But PAX is happening, and they are at PAX. So
PAX. Well, they do go to other ones, but they also have been a company who's I thought was maybe thinking about doing their own big convention, have everybody come to them. Right? Like PaizoCon does their own convention. I think even DCC might have its own convention, or Goodman Games might even run its own convention.
No, they don't.
Are you sure?
I'm very sure.
You're very sure.
But I know Hasbro tried to do HasbroCon. It wasn't called that, but there was only one of them ever, and it didn't do well enough, and so they never did it again. But I think D&D is at a point now where if they don't label it HasbroCon and they just label it like Dungeons & Dragons Con and then sneak other Hasbro stuff in there because Hasbro owns it, should do that. I don't know where you heard that because I haven't heard that they're doing any kind of a convention. Like they're just like
no, I thought they would.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I thought they would.
But where's the rumor for that? Like, why did you think?
No, because they're not going to some of the bigger ones, and I thought maybe that's because, and they have made their own kind of events, but they were for people who could buy. It was only for a couple hundred people that could get enough tickets, and then that was it. There's nothing that says they couldn't have done a convention that would have sold 1,000 tickets and it would have been 10,000 tickets or whatever. So I kind of thought they were leaning towards that. We'll do our own. We don't need to go to other people's. People come to us is kind of the way I was thinking of it, because they stopped going to Gen Cons as a booth. They're at PAX, but they're not at PAX as a booth. They're not at some of the only booth I've seen was GaryCon, where they had a table set up once. And that was the only time I had even seen Wizards of the Coast tables set up. And they had all the.
But are you forgetting about all the live games, the acquisitions?
No, those are all
games.
But that's not the same as that's attending a con. That's not being a vendor at the con with a big booth where you're selling all your merchandise. Like,
why be a vendor? I guess I don't understand the appeal of that. That doesn't.
Well, why does everybody else do it if there's no appeal to it?
Because they're selling things, but Wizards doesn't have, they have 90% of the market. They don't have to have a booth to sell you things. Like, they're going to have a giant main stage show at a beautiful theater in Seattle, and then you're going to go home and buy D&D stuff.
But if you said that, then Paizo wouldn't spend the money they did for the gigantic, enormous booth they buy.
Paizo is 10% of the market, if
or
not.
the biggest board game that's out there that's not a tabletop RPG.
Why are we arguing about this?
I don't
makes
know.
No sense to
I
me.
find it seems
like,
weird that you don't.
I don't think having a booth means that you've made it in the industry, and you kind of think that it does. Like, you're surprised that this company that's made it in the industry, why don't you have a booth? And I'm like, they've transcended booth. They don't need it. Paizo needs that. They need to go to Gen Con.
I think you're wrong. I think they sell quite a bit without having to do that, and I think you're wrong.
Okay.
I agree to disagree, sir.
Gen
they
Con,
don't need to go. I will agree with that. What you're saying there, they don't have to go, but it surprises me they don't want to or be a part of the community in that way.
I think hubris is keeping them from wanting to do that. I think they want people to think they are the community. And that's another argument, or that's another conversation.
That's like putting a whole thing on them that I think is not right either.
Well, I think that's another conversation, is just like D&D, Wizards wants you to say, hey, I made this thing for the world's greatest role-playing game. Paizo specifically will only call it the world's oldest role-playing game. Even though Wizards has asked all of these third-party people that you have to call it world's best role-playing game.
Oh, I've never heard that.
Yeah, and so if you look at a lot of these third-party supplements that use the SRD, they say like, hey, this is made for the world's greatest role-playing game.
Wow, I never
And
that.
Paizo's like, I don't want to say that because I don't think you are the greatest. I think you're just the most well-known. And so for them to, I think there's a lot of hubris at Wizards of the Coast. And I think they know that they're the biggest guy in town, and they're going to hold that as long as they can through whatever means they can. And not going to Gen Con, having a booth at Gen Con, like not having that is like saying we don't have to, in a way. Like I don't know, like Paizo has to show up and has to have a presence at Gen Con for them to be like, well, I don't need to. Like, I don't know. Now, to have Wizards say, we're going to create our own convention, that is something that I think I could see them doing in the future. Where they're like, we're going to transcend Gen Con and have our own convention and only invite publishers that are willing to do content for D&D. That seems like a more...
That's how we started the conversation. That's exactly what I said.
I know, but then
and
you were
I thought
saying...
we'd get an announcement for it.
Yeah, but you were going on and on about
July.
Booths, and I don't understand why booths were so important to you.
I was only because you said, why would they do a convention? And I would say because they don't go to these other places anymore. They would have their own.
Okay.
And everybody would come to them.
It's all come full circle.
Yeah,
there you go.
Perfect. We just agreed.
All right.
He's like, no, we didn't. I love it. What's chat say? Are they fighting or are they all on your side?
I don't know. It's Saturday morning D&D show Fight Club is what I hear. So
weigh in, chat.
Yeah. I bought tickets to Gen Con. I'm going. I got my plane
You know what
ticket.
I was doing yesterday, just another little off topic. I'm trying to get us a closer hotel. So here's the thing. Maybe somebody in chat knows this and I don't know the secret. Did you ever figure out the secret how these people year after year get close rooms, whereas people like you and me have never been able to get a room close? Even though I'm there day one, I'm at the lottery. They can't be winning the lottery every year, right?
No, I don't know. I know
there's some trick.
This year, there's got to be a trick. But this year specifically, I went to go get my hotel, and they were like, well, everything's sold out. And it was like, what? And they said, yeah we messed up. And I was like, what? And so I don't know. Like, prices are crazy this year, but
so
I've only ever been the 1 year other time, you know.
Yeah.
I've gone 2 years now, but yeah.
Over the last couple of days, I've been calling hotels all over Indianapolis, trying to find somebody who would tell me the secret. And I've been asking all these different hotel clerks and people. I'm like, so do you sell all your rooms or do you only sell a block? And some of the hotels do just a block, but they have other rooms they don't allow
in the
Gen
lottery
Con to grab.
Okay.
But some hotels do every single room as a block for Gen Con. So there's different ones. There's no rhyme or reason to who or what. You cannot reserve a room more than a year in advance. So like I can't say, hey, I want a room for next year's Gen Con dates and try to do it now, most of the hotels will say you have to wait till the 1 year mark. And on the day of the 1 year where you want to go out, that's when you can make
and that's got to be it. 'Cause I know that's what Ted did. Like,
and maybe that's what they're doing.
Was
so I'm like, is
Gen
that
Con?
the secret?
Yeah. He was at Gen Con, and then the day he was leaving, he's like, I would like to reserve this room for the next year. And they were like, okay. And they did it.
Maybe that's the trick. Because I thought Gen Con, so some of them were telling me Gen Con sends their next block in that day, 1 year in advance. And some people were thinking too, some hotels will allow them to have blocks multiple years. That's also a possibility.
I also know that they reserve a lot of those rooms for the companies who come in and buy.
The vendor ones.
Yeah. So that's another thing is I look at a lot of that and I'm like, how many are you like, you're either working the con or you're friends of somebody who works the con, and that's how you were able to get those rooms. So yeah.
And it's not clear there. So my next question was, how do I get somebody who cancels a room? So I'm asking all these hotels. I'm like, is there a waiting list? Is there a way to know a room's going to come open when somebody says, you know what, I guess I'm not going, and they cancel their thing? And none of them had any answer for, no, you just have to check back every day. And if there's an opening, there's an opening. So I did not find the secret is where this whole story was going to. But I am going to continue every day or every other day to see if I can get our hotel room much closer. That's where
awesome.
That's going. We might be in the Marriott all the way up at the top because they do have a room at the top of that big hotel.
Ooh.
But it's super expensive.
Ugh. I'm already buying an expensive plane ticket.
I know, so that's why I'm not just immediately jumping on anything. And the one we have now, I didn't. You don't have to pay for that at all.
Tax write-off. Woo. But
if we move into one that goes up a bump, I'll let you know for sure before we'll make a decision.
Cool. Yeah, that'll be fun.
Because I'd love to be right there. I'm trying to get us in the train room.
I know you keep talking about that.
In the Union Station train room. Forever at the Crown Plaza, I think is the name of it. So we'll bring you an update if we're ever there. But we are going to be there. A bunch of people are going that I've heard of. Oh, we might have a plan. Don't tell anybody.
We're on a podcast.
Trying to bring Danimal from Australia over.
Oh.
That could be cool.
Danimal, I don't know if it'll happen. AJ, you guys need to take
AJ,
your New Zealand, Australia flight and come over to America for Gen Con. Although I think AJ, he tried to come up for 2020 and
got quarantined.
And that was like, hey, you're not.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I mean, I think when Gen Con got canceled, it was just like, oh, crap. So,
poor guy.
Poor AJ.
AJ, I will pick you up from the airport if you ever do get to go, and you definitely could stay in a hotel.
Oh, he says he'll be there. All right.
Oh, well, cool. We got to meet up, AJ.
Now we got to all meet up.
Cool. We'll take you to dinner. That'll be fun.
Yeah, AJ, we got to get a lore picture together. That'll be fun. Boy, I played games for the first time in a long time, and you played games, but it's also 11.
Here we are at the end, right?
Here we are at the end. So we'll have to talk about that next time. But
yeah.
Speaking of, you were talking about how Colville had that whole his game where he killed a whole bunch of people with demons in a village and things like that. Mm-hmm. Nathan kind of restaged that with our characters for our new Black Company campaign, and we are now on a boat sailing away from the destruction of Demon City, trying to understand what happened. And,
have you read the story of Black Company?
I have not.
Has any of the players read the story of Black Company?
I doubt it. Maybe one.
So it's perfect because what it sounds like Nathan has just done is the starting chapter of the Black Company, which, if it's true, I commend you, DM Nathan. That is
he's a big fan of the book. That's all I know. That's what it's called.
And if you just run
him
through the first part of that, oh my God, that's so good.
I'm really excited. I'm playing an artificer named Styx, and I have two wands that act like I'm a spell slinger, and so I'm just like pew pew pew, and it was better.
How do you have the boat? Do you guys just happen to have a boat in town? Did you steal one?
Oh no, we ran and we got on a boat of everyone evacuating the city.
Of other people evacuating.
So we're on a boat with like a bunch of other people.
Got it.
And some of them, we were told, some of them are kind of shady. So,
are you Black Company people, or he's just in the world of Black Company?
No,
you are part of.
We part of it. I'm the quartermaster. We've got a captain and a lieutenant and stuff. It's fun.
Yeah.
So we have jobs aside from our class.
Yeah,
Black Company's and those jobs are from strongholds and followers. So, and we have retainers. I've got my brother is my retainer, and he's like a thief, but we're using again Colville's rules. It's really exciting. Like I should do like an actual book or an actual video on this because it's going to be a really good campaign. I'm very excited for it. So
yeah, it sounds super fun. That's a great world to do a campaign in too. It's one of my favorite and one of my go-tos for getting ideas and inspirations and want to running people through. Black Company, so good.
Yeah,
so
AJ
good.
says we can rent a car and sleep in it. I'm like, yeah, you're not wrong. Although I had heard people sleeping in their car at Gen Con, and the security guards sometimes
Find them.
tap, and they're just like, you can't. What are you doing? And so I don't know. But
well, AJ, where you might be able to get away with it is in the Lucas
Oil
Stadium. Oh yeah, there's some places back there where they probably wouldn't even see, and somebody parks a bus back there and stays on the bus for whole Gen Con. So that could be a cool idea. I've thought about that too, doing like an RV, like a rented RV for that week, and then you just stay in that. Ooh. It's got AC and it's got internet and everything else. You just got to find a place to park at that point.
That's cool. Hey everybody, that's our show. Sorry that your TV parents fought for an hour and a half over
argument.
But hey, there you go. We will be back next week, maybe. I think I'll be here at least. You'll be here. I don't know.
I think so.
Okay, cool. I thought something was happening.
That was gonna be this week, but it didn't. So
worked out.
I'm here.
Everybody be here. Gen Con RV trip. We have. I mean, I don't even know, but we'll if anything, we'll have games to talk about next week, and it'll be really exciting. And I think that's it. I'm stoked for Spelljammer. I'm so excited.
I am too. I can't wait. I know
the
we'll
art
play a
just
campaign.
looks amazing. Like
We've already had one person say he's going to run a campaign, so there will be campaigns ran, and we will be able to talk about it on this show.
Your group that's currently going through Dungeon of the Mad Mage, they want to. Okay, that's cool. Transition to Spelljammer.
There's a group of some. Well, I don't know if that group specifically, but the people that are a part of that group are also going to be a part of a Spelljammer.
Okay, yeah, that's what I mean. You're not like joining a different.
Every now and then we do that though. Like we'll jump from one campaign to there.
That's cool. All right. Well, anything else before we take off, sir?
God, no. I'm hungry. I'm gonna go eat lunch. It's 80 degrees out today. It's supposed to be nice and sunny. I hope wherever you live, it's nice and sunny. And welcome to spring. Go enjoy the day. Go take your kid to the park.
Play some D&D. All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.